Are you doing an MLD? We're live. We're live.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Amos Joseph. I am joined by my co-host, Brook Potter. How's it going, Brook?
It's going well. It's going well. I am actually under self-quarantine out here in the UK. You may have heard about this little thing causing the end of the world called the COVID-19 virus. And out here in the UK, we don't have a plan. We're just going to kind of, hash it out, wash our hands, hope for the best. Hopefully not sacrifice too many elderly. But the instructions coming down from the top is basically if you've got any symptoms, no matter how mild, which I do have a cough, isolate yourself for 7 days. And if it gets more serious, then you dial the hospital for help and they'll come and bring you out. So I'm in quarantine, my friend. And everybody who knows about this thinks I'm dying and they think these are my last days. So I'm glad I can surprise everyone and say that the rumors of my death have been, greatly exaggerated. How are you doing, Amos?
Well, Minnesota is on the verge of lockdown. By the way, everyone, this is the 10K Rum Podcast. I didn't get to say that part.
No, you didn't.
Anyways, Minnesota is, well, as are many other states, are definitely reaching more and more people with the coronavirus. I think we should spend the whole episode talking about the coronavirus. How about that?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. We do have to sum up the Picard episodes, half of the last one, and we can touch on that, but we'll save that till later. But yes, let's discuss the end of the world. And what is your number one soundtrack for the end of the world? Go.
Fuck, no, I don't.
Europe Final Countdown?
No, I mean, it would just be the end of the world,
Right. End of the world as we know it, REM?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my personal one I put up is Megadeth Countdown to Extinction, which I think is...
I saw you posted that this morning. I didn't listen to it yet. Yeah. How many cases in the UK?
I think we've just crossed 1,000. And I think we've just crossed 1,000. Now, I could touch a little bit on what's going on out here. Now, fortunately for traders and a few other people, we kind of saw this coming. We kind of knew not so much about the virus, because the numbers that were coming out of China were pretty shit. And nobody believes the numbers that have come out of China. But I knew it was going to be a shit show when it did get to the West. And I knew the panic would be worse than the disease ultimately. So fortunately, about 3 weeks ago, me and my flatmate, we actually stocked up on a couple of things. So we have enough supplies in the house to last 3 of us, because it's him and his wife, for a month. I think at least a month. I think we should be okay for a month. And so we are ahead of the curve. Now, since then, there's no toilet paper. This is the great toilet paper crisis of 2020. People will get shirts saying that they survived this. There's less water. All the big containers of water have disappeared. Cleaning supplies, bleach, hand sanitizer, these little gems that you get, gone. All of it sold out. But the good news is there's plenty of vegan food for anybody who's interested in that. So I think I'm living my best life at this point.
So the states are up to over 3,000 cases, somewhere in there.
In the entire U.S. Actually, let me see if I could pull it up. So yeah,
you
talk about that for a second.
And I've been tracking the Minnesota cases on a daily basis ever since the first case came. For a little bit there, it was doubling every 36 to 48 hours, which it's somewhat still progressing that way. Yes. In terms of confirmed cases. Everyone's like, is it growing like that? No, it's more confirmed cases. Like it's
almost 3,000 in the U.S.
Yeah. So everyone's, kind of some freaking out. There's obviously panic buying. Anywhere and everywhere that I've gone that has any toilet paper, gas stations, grocery stores, convenience stores, anything, all gone. Literally, I'll go to gas stations who have like a stock of toilet paper that's like in an area this small.
Yeah.
So it's just like a little like 6-inch like corner of a shelf that they put 2 rolls of toilet paper. Gone. It's just like, oh, I didn't even know they had toilet paper here. And they're like, yeah. And then I just look around and yeah, it's all gone. Lots of course, Facebook friends that I have that are all doing like, empty shelf challenge, post the empty shelves you're seeing. And it's just threads of pictures of like Targets, Walmarts, convenience stores, empty shelves. Because toilet paper is for sure empty.
Yes.
But the other thing is that you're also getting a lot of people that are wisening up just a little bit more, are starting to get canned foods, regular foods. I know Richard Cooper, we did a conference call with him and we talked about stocks and stuff. He's recommending to wait to a certain point, like kind of what to look for, what he's expecting. It's a good time for people to make a lot of money if they want.
Yes. I can discuss that in a bit as well.
But he was also pointing out just how stupid people's buying habits are. Like toilet paper is, no. Like you shouldn't be getting that much toilet paper. There's a lot of pictures out there, people getting way too much toilet paper. I saw the meme that was like, nobody, and then it says people in math problems, and it showed like two people in line waiting with carts full of toilet paper. I was just thinking, any math teacher that's doing online classes right now could totally be the most popular teacher if they're like, Jimmy is in the line at Costco with a cart full of toilet paper. Now each cart can hold 10 packs of toilet paper. And each pack of toilet paper has 6 rolls. Now these are special like Charmin rolls, triple ply. How many actual sheets? If each ply is a sheet, are in each, it could do like a whole problem about this, and it'd be. There was a whole. I was talking to some people about that, and it was really funny. Like realizing, like we are like, this is a literal math problem happening in out in real life.
Yeah. I mean, have you stocked up anything, or you're gonna wing it?
Oh, I'm winging it.
You're winging it. Like a real man.
I've got like enough gas in the car. I've got money on me and stuff. I'm like, if something hits the fan, there's that. It is definitely having an effect in certain ways. Minnesota is kind of still in that area where the panic is growing, but actions aren't being taken so much yet. Yes. Events are definitely canceled, like sporting events and all that. I know there are states where it's a whole lot worse, where schools are closing across the state for at least a month.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to online schools, but I know my my sister over in Taiwan with my mom, they're already on online school since February.
Right. Yeah. Most of Asia here is running online schooling.
I think as of last night, it was 21 confirmed cases in Minnesota. But they're not updating it as quickly, which is kind of bothers me because I can't keep track of it as clearly, because I made a couple of predictions on the numbers and they have so far been pretty darn close, just in terms of like, I think it was like 9 cases. When I talked to some friends, I was like, I bet you it's going to be like 15 to 20 cases by tomorrow. Yeah. Next morning, I'm checking it, 14 cases. I'm like, all right, it's going to break 20 by middle of tomorrow, 21 cases. So I was like, okay, so there's definitely growth happening with it. No deaths. The breakdown of the people who have been confirmed infected in Minnesota have been pretty scattered. So there's like people in their 30s, some old couples. So it's not just like the whole people disease thing.
Right.
Now, you watched that Joe Rogan video, right? The guy, when he had that infectious disease expert on?
Yes.
What do you think of those? And those were the low end of projections that he gave. What do you think of those?
I think he's accurate. I think it's pretty evident that probably 60 to 70% of the population will probably get this. And again, we're not believing what China is saying. We think, the numbers are a lot higher than what they've projected. And now they're trying to get people to go back to work. So this wave 2 is coming in China because they're just going to start this shit up all over again.
By the way, just real quick before we, so in the video, it's Joe Rogan did a podcast with a infectious disease expert, and literally within the first like 3-4 minutes of the video, of the podcast actually, he just gives all the projections of that they're giving from the data they had a week ago.
Yes.
So it's just like, what is it? 9 million cases, 4 million hospitalized, 500,000 dead.
Yeah,
worldwide.
Probably along those lines.
But
yeah,
right
I think
now,
that's accurate.
It's probably going to be more.
It could be. I mean, again, so we don't have enough information. This is the problem. So far, we've been relying on the numbers from China. That's fucking nonsense. Italy has seen huge spikes, right? Italy is now the front runner. I think is the number 2 location. I think they overtook South Korea. Actually, I can check that.
Yeah.
But with that, now we're starting to get some actual like reliable data. And it's not, the numbers coming out of Italy are not good at all. It definitely looks like this is a lot more deadly than we thought it was. Yeah, even Germany is just like, I think they've closed off their borders to France and Austria and all kinds. I mean, it's going to get pretty fucked up. So this is the problem. We don't have enough information. We don't know enough about this virus. Now, the best estimates say, okay, it's probably about an average between 7 to 10% mortality. Of course, that you're more exposed to that the older you are, or if you have pre-existing conditions. So obesity, diabetes, hypertension, like my cousin has hypertension. She's worried about it. Yeah. And the elderly, of course, that could jump it as high as 15 to 20% from what we're seeing. In fact, it's so bad in Italy right now. They're refusing care to anybody who's over 80 years old. It's just kind of like, fuck it, you're on your own.
That's the big concern right now, is not so much like the mortality rate. So someone asked me something. They said, do you know about this like category 5 disease thing? And I'm like, what's that? I looked up categories of disease.
Yeah.
And it says I think it's the WHO has a index of sort of pandemic levels and where the highest level. So
right.
So it's a category 5 pandemic, meaning it's a disease that has a 2.0% or higher mortality rate.
Okay.
1 in 50.
Sure.
And a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. But when you really think about it, and this is what I don't get, is we haven't had a bad enough flu or disease in a while that has scared the world. So
right.
a lot of my generation and even some of the boomer generation, just gonna say that, they don't get it. And that's the thing, is they think, like, when you try to talk to people about it, you kind of realize it's like you're almost trying to get them to panic, but you're like, no, I don't want you to panic. I want you to be like smart and like actually consider that this is a real issue.
Correct.
Because there's some people that you and I both follow, and we're getting a whole bunch of different responses. Anything from it's just the flu. Oh my god! Like, they'll go out in the streets, they'll take pictures, shoot videos, like, oh look, panic in the streets, people are dying, and I'm like, yeah, we know it's not happening yet. Like, but it's. It's getting there. It's going to get there at a certain point.
Correct.
I talked to some people to see, like, where do they think, like, there's going to have, basically, where civility is going to start to drop.
Right. Well, it's going to be in the cities. Yeah.
Yeah. And so a friend of mine asked me what I felt what could happen. I said, some civil unrest in large cities. Yes. Full on riots in maybe the larger cities in the States.
Possibly, although
countryside, small towns, probably nothing.
Yeah, it's because it's a pandemic. I'm not sure everybody will go outside. That might kind of curtail the city riots. I mean, it's always possible, especially if they run out of supplies. So maybe
looting.
Oh, looting is definitely that's a given.
But I mean, that would be like in like the top 50 cities in the U.S. kind of thing.
Yeah, possibly.
Not like like Minneapolis here. Like you probably wouldn't hear quite as much craziness. I mean, it is already happening in small bits, but so there's that, and people are talking about are you gonna have to defend yourself in some areas, and it's like I don't know. But
you should be able to defend yourself anyway, regardless where you are. But yeah.
But I mean, are you going to have to be forced to be on a higher sense of alertness just in your daily life?
If you have a roll of toilet paper, they might tear you to shreds.
Speaking of which, how much toilet paper do you have?
I have enough. If we were to use a roll a day, we could last for more than a month.
Oh wow, that much.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that you got those big stacks. Like, there's 3 of us in the house, right? So it's you got those big stacks. It's like 24 in a pack. That's big. And then I think I've got a couple of maybe 3 other 9 packs, something like that.
Toilet paper running out in the UK though? Like, are you going
there's
to
none.
stores?
There's none. So
and here I want to touch on this quick. So we have some friends who are very for we have some friends that are very much for universal health care and such.
Yes.
And some of them are using this opportunity to politicize their views and politicize the disease to say like, oh look at these countries that are handling it, like Taiwan and Singapore.
Taiwan and Singapore are not nationalized healthcare systems. Well, I mean, they're not single payer. They're not single payer healthcare systems.
So what I pointed out I talked to some people about this, like, well, okay, so you want to go and point at like how great Taiwan and Singapore is with their authoritarian governments that can handle this. They're high tech and all this stuff. They're using
small population,
small landmass, and a people that are very
homogenous.
Homogenous and used to government involvement in their daily lives. And everyone kind of goes, oh, look how great it is. And then I go, yeah, you wouldn't be saying that if it was there's this time called the White Scare in Taiwan where there was martial law for a few decades.
Really? Wow.
Oh, well, a couple decades, I think.
Couple decades? Wow.
Was it?
I don't know much about the history of Taiwan, so
it's called the White Scare. I have to look it up here, but anyways, there was a period of time where there was basically fear of communists.
Okay.
It's kind of like their Red Scare kind of thing. But the government basically instituted martial law for an extended period of time. We'll just say it that. Like usually martial law is like, few days, few weeks maybe, but this was like years. And everyone's just like doesn't think about that. I mean, Taiwanese people think about that. They have a healthy sense of understanding of like communism is bad.
Yes.
Just with the constant pressure from China, but the rest of the world wants to go and say like that's the shining example of like how great everything is. And it's like, no, like I will say in a purely just objective sense, yes, it is great that Taiwan has the resources it has to monitor and control its population, that the coronavirus is like contained.
Yes. And a lot of what they've done could not happen outside of
there. And it's like, but that's like the one good time that it happens. Like, oh, during a crisis situation, they can handle it.
Yeah.
If, someone gets an idea or two in the government, shit can totally go sideways if they want it to. But yeah.
I saw that conversation you were having with our friend regarding the socialized healthcare, and he's trying to attribute it all to this, universal healthcare.
All to universal healthcare, and it's like, no, it's smart data, it's big data and tech innovation. And even it says on the article, but there's a socialized healthcare command in this country. I said, true, but you can't do that anywhere else.
Correct, but even though it's a coordinated effort, that's all it's saying. It's not saying that the socialized healthcare is what's solving the problem.
Oh yeah, the U.S. could do it.
Yeah, you need a measured response. Exactly.
Yeah, they would go broke doing it, but they could do it.
They could. I mean, y'all probably go broke anyway because the shit that's coming is a whole other story. But
I mean, it's like people want to. Oh, it's not so much can the U.S. do it, is if the U.S. will do it, and just the way the U.S. is set up, the bureaucratic, nightmare that it is, you can't really just pull that off. You can't just, we're going to establish a, DC health command and completely just, start pumping out executive orders that basically, to the common American, it would be equivalent to martial law.
Yeah.
And it's like, whereas in Taiwan, it's nowhere near what they consider to be a martial. I mean, if I were in Taiwan and all this is happening and they're doing all these controls, I wouldn't be too bothered.
Sure.
I just kind of go about my day. But at the same time, it's like
Trump is not going to issue martial law in the middle of an election year. It's just not
exactly. So, and then there's that, and then people are gonna go, "Oh, it's politics. He just wants to get reelected." Yeah,
it is politics.
And
yeah,
if it was anyone else,
fucking right.
If it was anyone else, it'd be the same thing. If people want to harp on about Hillary being president, if she were president, she'd probably go a lot harder. I think.
Possibly.
I mean, people. So that same friend of ours that we were talking about basically put out an article about if Bernie Sanders were president, coronavirus wouldn't be a thing, and I'm like, whoa.
What a moron. What a special type of stupid.
Like, what? Like, this has nothing to do with who's president. And that's the thing, is people don't understand how many ports of entry the U.S. has.
Correct. Plus the ones you don't have that they use anyway.
Yeah. There's way too many ports of entry to have any response that is really too much more or less than what has already been done.
Correct.
I get that people, and also the media response to Trump is kind of funny too. Like, they think they're being objective and they're being measured and they're being calm, but at the same time, it's like fucking swine flu went through millions before Obama did anything.
Yeah.
Granted, swine flu was a way lower mortality rate. But just, it was like patient zero of the U.S. Boom, let's go after Trump. It's like, whoa. Like, if you wanted to make this even like close, like, so patient zero. So that's what, like if you tried to proportionally compare it, one coronavirus patient in the U.S. would be like the equivalent to, let's say, like 10,000 swine flu patients before they had a response. Okay. I'm just comparing mortality rates and such.
Sure.
If I just rounded it up to a huge number, they still didn't have anywhere near the response. It was millions before they said anything. Everyone knew someone who probably had swine flu.
Yeah.
And no one really cared. But now they've hyped it up so much that there's all these market scares that, you can say, yeah, it's great. We're smarter now. We're more proactive about talking about these issues. But at the same time, it's like it's what I've been talking about to a lot of people. It's like, the media has driven up the panic level so high. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 was full blown end of the world panic, like, the media is trying to push like an 8.
Yeah.
And because people are so tired of the media, they drop it to a 1 and just dismiss the whole thing. Oh, it's just a flu. But we should be at like a 4 or 5. Have some concern, but not panic.
Yeah, I've pulled up the map for our listeners of the heat map of the disease.
Is the green recovered?
The green is recovered. The white is total deaths. The red is confirmed cases.
Confirmed. Does that include the recovered cases?
Well, I will assume so, but they're no longer active. But yeah, this is like a running total. So the total is you get it, either you die or you recover. So all of those numbers are included in here. So everybody who is confirmed, so 156,400 is bona fide. We know this person is tested positive.
So there's only like 70 some odd thousand active cases then.
Correct. So you'd minus the 2. So you'd minus the total and the recovered, and those are the active cases.
Yeah, and people are talking about that like there's some hope to it, but it's already reached so many countries outside of China that it's just starting to spread in other countries.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Italy's going to be freaking blown up.
I mean, Italy's a fucking mess. Look at it. 21,000 cases. They've surpassed South Korea, that was up there.
Right. And did you ever play any of those like Pandemic or Plague Inc. games?
Oh yeah, I played Plague Inc.
So this is one of the things
it's
that
number one on my trending in the Google Play Store right now.
Like, what's funny is, people want to go joke about those games, and they're making all these references and memes. But I think, and I kept hearing this from some experts and such, talking about like a disease has to reach a certain amount of people before it starts to like change and mutate.
Mutate, yeah.
And it's funny how it works the same way in that game. Once you reach the millions of people infected,
yeah,
that's where the disease, you get the most quote unquote DNA points that you can add to mutations. Granted, it's not the same thing. You're not just going to save up all your points and drop organ failure into your disease and kill everyone. But the principle of like just it reaches a certain critical mass before it starts to basically see large mutations, whether it becomes more deadly, less deadly, more infectious, less infectious. When it turned from contact to airborne, that was a big jump. How right now there's people that there's theories about there's 2 strains of COVID-19.
Yeah, the L
there's like
a
deadlier. There's like a deadlier version and a not so deadly version.
The L version is more aggressive. Yeah, the S is common. Or it might be that way around.
And you never know, that could split another way too. Like something else gets worse. How it reacts with other diseases in other countries that it hasn't encountered. What's going to happen once summer comes to a lot of the more developed countries that are going to start warming up in the next few months?
Apparently, the disease doesn't like the warm.
It doesn't like the warm, but the concern is basically by the time the warm even comes, it will have so many people infected that it won't make much of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, it may not spread as much, so it might bring the curve down a little bit. I mean, that's what they're trying to do out here. They're trying to stretch.
But it's going to be so saturated that it'll spread anyways.
Well, it wouldn't spread as easily. I mean, the big reason why it's spreading now, this is flu season. It's cool. When you cough or sneeze, the water droplets that the virus clings to stay suspended in the air for a lot longer, right? When it's hot, the water evaporates or dries up and it destroys the virus. So it can't transmit as much. Not that it can't happen. It's just it's not going to be as fierce sort of thing.
So if this disease makes it to Greenland, we're screwed.
No, Greenland has a summer, man. I mean, it's not much of a summer, but once they get to about 20 degrees Celsius, they should be okay.
For those who don't know, in the game Pandemic or Plague Inc., the 2 toughest countries to infect the disease with is Madagascar and Greenland, because they're weird islands with very few ports of entry.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but
did you just spray on me?
Well, shit. I've been getting a little bit of becoming a bit of a hypochondriac with all this talk of COVID-19, because I like
really.
I'm going about my day and I'm like, wow, my throat feels a little funny, or like or if I'm just tired, I'm like, oh, I feel a little under the weather, and then I like the next day I wake up.
Get some strepsils, man, for your throat.
No, so I'm like, I'll go to bed and I'll wake up the next day and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Okay. No big deal. Just body, feeling whatever it's feeling. Just like, but you just get really like hyper aware. Like, am I sick? Is this me? Is this it?
No, I get that. I get like, so my flatmate is sick and I'm sick. And we can kind of trace this thing back because my flatmate has been spending a lot of time at the Chinese embassy. And he works in, and he works in a school, which is, of course, it's a school is an incubator, right? All the kids are flying back from their holidays and whatever. You got every fucking disease imaginable in a school. So he's got the best of both worlds. So it is a very real possibility that I may have caught this and maybe, still have it or whatever the case might be.
What's crazy is how long it can stay in your system and how long you're infectious. Because there's
what's worse is even if after you recover, you can be infected again.
And and even if you're going to be fully recovered and not get infected, you're still infectious for a period afterwards.
Correct.
I think it was I saw some crazy numbers, it can be up to 2 weeks before your symptoms come up. Yes. And then let's say you recover, let's say in a few weeks. Yes. It could be a full month before you're completely free of being infectious. It's what the fuck?
Yeah. So it's 28 days.
So you're basically infectious for minimum 3 months.
Yeah, but the infection drops off once the symptoms appear, after 7 days after you get your first set of symptoms. You are infectious, but it's not to the degree that you had it at the beginning. So you can still spread it, but you're less contagious. You are contagious, but how contagious comes down tremendously. So that's why they say, well, you could give it 2 weeks of isolation or 7 days of isolation. And in that time, you're less likely to pass it on to anybody else. We hope. Because nobody really knows.
Well, yeah, there's all these freaking theories about how it gets around.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just had lessons on how to wash our hands out here in the UK.
What?
So, because, I mean, that's how most people are going to get it, right? You touch a surface that has the disease on it, and then you touch your face and it gets into your eyes, your nose, your mouth, whatever the case might be, right? So the big prevention strategy out here is washing hands. And apparently I've been washing my hands wrong my entire life, right? They're showing us how to do it like how the doctors do it, and you got to rub the palms and don't forget the thumbs and, get in between the hands and you got to do it for 30 seconds and you sing happy birthday twice and that's how long you do it.
Gotta get a wire brush and start scrubbing away. There's no skin left.
There's a great meme with Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator where he's holding up his mechanical hand saying, after I've washed my hand 10,000 times.
Oh, yeah. That's what it's feeling like for some people. I mean, I wash my hands anyways, but I haven't really changed my hand washing routine. I wash my hands after the bathroom. Yeah. If I get that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm washing it a lot more now. Probably just for this period. But I mean, I've always been clean. If I use the bathroom or whatever, or eat food before I eat food, after, but yeah, I'm very much aware of a lot of the surfaces that I'm touching out here and how many other people are touching it. So I have been a little more active.
I saw a video. It said, CDC recommends not using your hand to touch doorknobs.
Yeah.
So then there was this video of this guy that opened up his mouth and opened the door with his mouth. And it turns the knob with his mouth. Oh my God.
I mean, I saw the one that Richard Cooper put on Twitter, these are the heights of stupid. And it was a girl licking a toilet with the Corona challenge.
Oh, God. Yeah,
we're doomed. We're all gonna die.
MLD John is getting a little too into. So he keeps posting the anime Corona-chan.
The what?
Corona-chan. So any something chan in Japanese is like a cute girl kind of thing. I mean, chan is like a term of endearment kind of thing.
Endearment, yeah.
So
son.
he's like, yeah. So he's like Corona-chan, and it's just this anime drawn Corona virus. It's basically this thick red dress chick that's supposed to be the coronavirus, and then someone had made a Tinder profile like me, just came from China, love to get around and travel,
feeling cute, might kill some people later, I don't know.
Swipe left if you're a doctor or a nurse. Fucking A. There's so much stuff going on with this disease. I'm there's some friends of mine that were actually I'll talk about this since it's kind of out there. So about these friends of mine that have basically come out in public to talk about their kid that's not doing so well.
Yeah.
So I have these two friends. I didn't know
they came out in public though. But
they did. That's why there was that little fundraiser thing. I'm not gonna push that per se. I'm just gonna mention it. But basically, I have these friends who they live in Australia right now, and Australia is not like in any big. They're not really in the shitter yet when it comes to corona. I mean, it's there, but it's not like as big as it is everywhere else per se. Anyways, so there are a couple that I know that met up, and they had a kid together. She's from the States. He's from there. She moved over there to be with him. They had a kid. And their kid came out basically with they found out had a like genetic condition that's pretty much incurable. And the kid only has like a few months left. Pretty sad stuff. Okay. They put out a little fundraiser and such, but they have a lot of family that's coming to basically like see him and stuff. Cutest little kid I've seen. And anyways, like what sucks is with all this going on, she's got family in the States, and it's not really easy for them to come over,
right,
to see him. Like I think, and even for me, I'm kind of like shit. Like as soon as I can get to go see them, because I want to try to go see them, is a few months out too, and I don't know where this coronavirus is going to go. That I could. I'm even concerned about going to Taiwan still for the summer, because
I'm not even sure you can. I mean, I just canceled my trip to Trinidad.
You did, yeah. But I mean, I think there's more travel restrictions if you're in Europe. Like the U.S. is still the U.S. has cut off travel to Europe.
Yes.
But but I've looked at travel restrictions to Taiwan. There isn't really much.
Right.
I mean, China,
it's not just that. It's do they quarantine you when you get there? That's the question. See, so I could have gotten to Trinidad, but and I do sometimes feel like I have a fever. If I had a fever when I entered, I would be quarantined for 14 days, and I'm only there for 10. So it's kind of like, well, what's the fucking point? And then I have the reverse problem, which is
come back.
To go back, right? And there's no guarantee they're going to allow flights back to the UK, seeing as all these countries are cutting off connections. So those are the concerns.
Yeah. So so I'm thinking about maybe instead of going to Taiwan, because there's talk of my sister coming over to the States right after she graduates. So maybe I'll just go see her that way instead of go to Taiwan. And with all the cheap flights now, I could do a whole bunch of traveling. Dude, I was looking at some flights there was flights to Vegas for $60. There's flights to Denver for $40.
Yeah. I mean, you better get it while the getting's good. There is rumor that Trump is going to crack down on domestic travel.
I could go to freaking Peru for $100 or something.
Yeah. Even for me to go to Duluth, which is a kind of an obscure airport. It's not MSP, for instance. 250 pounds, which is, normally that's like a 600 pound trip.
Right now?
Yeah, something like that. Well, last time I checked, it's somewhere around there. New York, 200 and change. Miami, 250 pounds. So, I mean, it's a little bit more. It's maybe 300 if you convert it to US dollars.
Well, get the fuck over here then.
I can't. There's a travel ban.
Wait, there's a travel ban, but they're still selling tickets?
Well, I haven't checked that recently, to be fair. I checked it before the ban.
I was like, oh shit, they're still selling tickets in the middle of a travel ban?
No. I checked it before the ban.
I thought there was a travel ban to all EU nations except for the UK.
Until the next day, then he included the UK.
God damn it.
We're fucked. So I think even Guatemala just closed their borders to Europe and Americans. And I hear that Mexico is actually considering sealing off their northern border because they don't want Americans coming down to Mexico.
So what could very well happen is they might.
Trump is winning.
they're gonna build a wall and they're gonna pay for it.
Trump is winning.
That's what people are talking. That's what people have been joking about. Oh my gosh, they're gonna freaking build a wall and pay for it.
Trump was right all along. I mean, even the nonsense of this thing, the New York Times just put out that ISIS, from the Middle East is warning its terrorists not to go to Europe because of the virus.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love it.
The greatest anti-terrorist act is the disease.
It's the apocalypse, man.
Now, I love an interesting conspiracy theory just for the sake of walking through it, not believing it per se.
Sure.
Just as much as, the other guy, if there is such a thing. But all these conspiracy theories I'm hearing about, like about this disease being maybe not manufactured. I mean, the manufactured claim is like pretty much like disproven over and over again. Like nature comes up with better diseases than we can.
Sure.
And people are trying to say, oh, like, the biolab in China that accidentally released some of this. But the talk that this was maybe released in some fashion, like maybe they it was naturally occurring, but they kind of like released it somehow or something. Or even there's some, just taking away any of the theories surrounding like how it came to be. Do you think there's any validity to the idea that it's come about at this time when all these other factors are at play? So like we're way overdue for a market correction. A lot of the gas price and oil wars that are going on between OPEC and Russia. Mm-hmm. It's an election year. We're pretty much overdue for a shitty disease like this kind of thing. Like all these theories that kind of point at like.
Do I think it was done deliberately is what you're asking me?
Yeah, regardless of how it came to be, but why it's come to be.
I don't think it's deliberate. I think there is some evidence to suggest it came from a lab in Wuhan. And they were testing it in bats. And the story goes that somebody, he got peed on by the bat. He got it. He self-quarantined for like 2 weeks. It wasn't enough, and they eventually released him. And that was kind of the beginning of all this. There is some evidence to support that. The reason why I don't think it was deliberate is because of China's response to the crisis. If they knew they were going to do that, they would have prepared a lot better, a lot sooner. Because, the Communist Party, it all falls at the feet of the Communist Party. Because if they had dealt with this stuff up front early on, admitted what was happening, locked down the region, went in with blowtorches and killed everything within like a 5-mile radius, we would not even be having this conversation. And they did that when Ebola showed up in China, for instance. Now, what happened? The doctors are coming out saying we got this new disease. Boom, that doctor disappears. Journalists come out and say, oh, we've got this new disease. Boom, those journalists disappeared. And the party did everything in its power basically to ignore it. And that is why we are in the position we are.
It's today. It's like China's equivalent to Chernobyl.
Correct. Exactly the same. If anybody knows, Chernobyl was the reactor explosion that happened in Ukraine, I think.
And the government kept ignoring it while it was happening. I think it was like literally a whole week before I mean, if you watch the Chernobyl, the miniseries, was it HBO or Cinemax?
Yeah, HBO did it.
And you watch it and you realize, like, and you have that scientist that basically was like realizing how fucked they are.
Like, yes, one of them.
He's like, wait, a what now? It blew up? What are you doing? You're sending these people?
Yeah, because they had no fucking clue what they were doing.
And he's talking to a room full of these, Communist Party leaders, and they're all just like, no. He's like, no, you're all idiots. Like, and then that general that comes in that basically is like realizing, like, kind of being pushed to question the party, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing you do not do is question the party.
But he was kind of like that. There was that general he was working with was pretty much like his brawn of the situation. Like, okay, yeah. I'm gonna be your muscle to like move the people to do this. Like, I know, like he couldn't outright say I know the party fucked up.
Yeah,
but he was kind of like he was showing like, all right, we're doing this. Like,
yeah. I mean, the miniseries is brilliant in what they did, sharing that story. It is very much the similar thing that happened in China, and you see, China's gotten so hooked on basically trying to buy the world and their economic power and their economic war that they're not looking at anything else. So when this when this outbreak occurred, they're not really interested in hearing about an outbreak where they have to divert resources from buying up, all the African shipping lanes and all these other things. And yeah, that is why we are where we are today. And of course, the US has a part to play in that, in the sense, what is to come, which people haven't realized yet, is the production shortage of goods, because China's been basically, the whole country's been turned off for about 2 to 3 months. And everything, as you know, is manufactured in China. The drugs, the medical supplies, the computers, the cell phones, the technology. Now, most good companies will have a stockpile of a certain amount of goods. But when you've been down and out for 3 months and there's no shipping that's been taking place for like the last 2 months, there's going to be a shortage, whether you like it or not.
I went ahead and ordered like a more modernized looking plague mask as a joke to see if I, just to see if I could like get it and wear it on the show.
Yeah.
It won't be here till May. Because guess what?
When did you order it? Where did you order it? When?
I mean, I ordered it through Wish. Just
when?
3 weeks ago, maybe.
3 weeks ago. Okay, yeah.
And it just gave me like, oh, we've got your product. It won't be there till May. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So I ordered the protective masks. So the mask that you're supposed to wear if you get sick, not so much to prevent the disease. I ordered that on March the 10th, either the 10th or the 15th. I can't remember which one. And that still has not arrived. So
Jesus,
that's it. Even there's another product that I ordered out in December, and it's a brand new product. The manufacturing is in China. They were supposed to deliver in January. Nothing's coming out. So this is what a lot of people are not taking into effect. They think, oh yeah, it's going to be, the world is going to survive. China's been off for 3 months, which was like 40% of the world's growth. Back when SARS was the case, they used to have like 6 million Chinese tourists around the world, pumping money into the tourist industry. Now it's almost 100 million. None of them are flying. 100 million tourists have disappeared from, the global economy. Manufacturing is off. Shipping has ground to a halt. And now people are going to be off work. They're going to be quarantined. This is fucking, you can't make this shit up. The economic slowdown that's coming is inevitable. So we just had it in China. China seems to be on the mend. But like I say, I think wave 2 is going to come because they're going to send people back out to work and this shit's going to start up all over again. But now it's in the US.
COVID-19 2 electric boogaloo?
Yeah, basically. But now it's in the US and Europe, and we haven't even begun to see what that is going to do in terms of economic slowdown. So like the banks out here in the city of London, a couple of them have closed. A lot of people are working remotely. If it's anything like Italy, where they've closed everything except the groceries and the pharmacies, small businesses, pubs, cafes, all that's done. These people can't survive.
People that can't work remotely are going to suffer as well.
Correct. So I don't think people understand this. This is not going to be like, okay, so when Richard Cooper put out that wonderful tweet about, there's blood in the water, he's looking at the markets and, he's saying like there could be good opportunity. Thank goodness he clarified and said, no, now is not the time to buy. But when he said that, I said, this is exactly the time not to buy, because you were only seeing today's reaction to what was happening 3 months ago. I'm looking at the data today and I'm predicting 3 months out to 6 months, and it ain't good.
Are you gonna buy anything?
Actually, I've cleared out my company, so I have no more stocks. But in about 2 to 3 months, yeah, there are a couple plays that I see that are going to be very, very good. I'll try and scrape some money together to put into that. I can't give advice on the show. I'll be in violation of some securities laws.
But one thing I saw too, people were again politicizing the crisis. They were putting up pictures of like, oh, it's so funny that Americans in quote unquote late stage capitalism are putting out these posts that are basically the same as when Venezuela had food shortages because of socialism. And then I go, and then I saw that and I was like, man, I was like trying to think of a rebuttal, but then I saw our friends over at Think Liberty put out a tweet. Do these socialists not understand that shipments come in to replenish those?
Exactly. Unlike,
and I was like, Yeah, I mean, so just to all our, more left-leaning government is good audience, kind of believing the government should step in and do all this, it's like markets, companies produce enough of a product to meet what is demanded,
Correct.
Supply and demand.
Correct.
So, and your socialist, democratic socialists want to go on all day, like they know better. And it's like, supply and demand, one of the most basic concepts in economics. So if you only supply as much as what the typical demand is, and all of a sudden that demand shoots to hundreds of times, not hundreds of times, obviously, but, tens of times over, what happens? You have no supply. But because these billionaire rich companies that have all this stuff, what are they going to do? Make more stuff, because they're not stupid. It's not like they don't want to make money. You think Charmin is just going to sit there and be like, well, we're out of toilet paper? Like, no,
too bad.
They're pumping out as much fucking toilet paper, from what I heard, it's a bulky thing to produce, but it's not hard to produce.
No.
So what they're doing right now, go ahead.
Not only is Charmin pumping it out, but do you not know that there are small companies that are just opening just to produce toilet paper for the shortage that's coming? Like I know 2 people right now who are in California, and they are buying like Mexican equipment, like old plant that is not even being used anymore. They bought all of the equipment, and they're just planning to pump out toilet paper for the next 6 months. So not only are the big guys jumping in, but because there's such a demand, entrepreneurs are stepping in to fill the gap.
So what you're saying is, if there's, let's say, certain pink sheets of stocks of just small little like toilet paper companies, just buy them up.
Well, no, not right now. Not right now. Months? No, they're probably only going to be in business for 6 months, so you might miss your opportunity. But in theory, you got the right theory. It's just that there's so many other factors that are playing into what the market is always right, and the market direction will supersede any kind of fundamentals, which is the problem. So there's so much fear in the market right now. Even if you have a perfect company that's got plenty of everything, they're still going to be affected by the downfall that's taking place. It's just people selling out. So yeah, no, I don't think there's a play you can do on toilet paper. Was it Kelly something is the big Mexican producer? They might probably be doing all right, but we'll see.
But yeah, so they're not understanding like the food shortage. I mean, so I probably can't put it as like concise and eloquently, but what led to the food shortages in Venezuela?
Oh, that's a long story, but the quickest way I could say that is their manipulation of the foreign currency market is what led to the food shortage in Venezuela. Well, that plus their destruction of property rights. So if you were a profitable farm, the government would basically come in and seize it for we the people, and you lose your farm. So a lot of farmers stopped farming, or at least meeting their quotas, because they did not want the government to come in and steal their successful business. Now, to the food importers, they were given preferential U.S. rates. So back in the day, let's say the bolivar was 5,000 bolivar to $1. If you were in business, you could actually buy it at 100 bolivar to $1. So you got a preferential, rate to buy US dollars because you're importing goods and stuff like that. So if I can buy $1 at 100 bolivars and I can sell that $1 for 5,000 bolivars, what the fuck do I need to import anything for? I'll just sell currency, right? I will buy as much US currency as I can and will sell it to the public.
Price gouging of money?
Because they created an artificial exchange rate to supposedly help businesses, it actually made more sense for the importers not to import food and just sell the currency. They made more money not buying food and selling it to the public.
Then the bolivar became worthless.
Then it skyrocketed even more. But they still have the fixed business rate. So even though the bolivar is like 3 billion to 1, whatever it is, the fixed business rate is still there. So it's still like 100 believers to 1 US. So until you allow the market rate to actually fluctuate, regardless of who's involved, that situation is never going to improve. And even if that's the case, because there was an incident in the Christmas, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe longer than that, because I actually put this in a video. Somebody was bringing in toys for Christmas. And the minute that shipment of toys reached the docks, the government just seized the toys and started to give it out to like the party members kind of thing, you know? So no matter what you bring in to Venezuela, there's no guarantee that you're ever going to keep it. And that's the destruction of property rights is what killed the economy.
But yeah, so people are trying to compare like all the food shortages to like our shortages. But when Venezuela ran out of food, it ran out of food.
Yeah, because there was nobody wanted to grow like enough because they're in threat of losing their business. Yeah. And nobody wanted to import because they might not keep it, and they made more money selling currency. It's
funny. So when they run out of food, they run out of food. When we run out of toilet paper, we just wait a little bit.
Yeah, same thing with here. We have no toilet paper on the shelves here, and I mean I'm glad that my flatmates have come to realize the situation we're in, because they were just kind of living like it's every other day, and then until they went out to actually buy some stuff, they realized, wait a minute, there's nothing left. But yeah, in a couple days, hopefully, like I saw one of the delivery trucks show up, so I know they're not stocking it now. They'll probably stock it by tomorrow. So I will go up to one of the shops out here early in the morning, and I'll grab, a couple more rolls of toilet paper.
Sell it back to the people for money.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, you always need toilet paper. It's not something that you're not going to need.
Hey, buddy.
Do you need that 3-ply? Do you want that 3-ply?
10 pounds for a roll.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna be.
So many videos of that, like some guy in the corner freaking got a cigarette and like got the money. He just pulls out a roll. What the fuck?
To our listeners, I've just surprised Amos with an image. It says at the bottom, "I'm ready to self-isolate."
Is that? Oh, it's toilet paper. What is the other stuff there?
So we got a picture of a sex doll. Yeah. That happens to be made in China, but I think that's part of the gag.
Oh God!
It's got some bourbon, some Malibu rum, Smirnoff vodka. I'm not sure what this last one is. You got lots of pot noodles, toilet paper, cans of beans, and some hand sanitizer. And and the sex doll is wearing a mask. You got to practice safe sex. So.
A lot of people are pointing out this whole we're gonna have like a random spike of birth rates.
Yes, in 9 months.
They're gonna call them the coronials or the quarantines.
I love it.
I don't think that's gonna happen per se. I mean.
No, because nobody's going to want to touch each other if, you could die.
Yeah. I mean, so the only people that might have a rise are like married people or like cohabitating couples and such, but there aren't too many of those around either. So it's like, I know I sent you this, but on all my dating profiles, so basically OkCupid, Bumble, Tinder, even Facebook dating.
All right. You guys have that out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I changed it to I would have like my regular little bio that I'd have down, chase excellence, bettering myself, whatever, just to kind of put that. But I just bumped that down. I put the first line. Imagine telling our kids that we met up during the coronavirus outbreak. I just put that for all of them. And it obviously hasn't set in yet, but I'm curious as to what's going to happen once that really sets in. Like the crisis sets in. And people start people are going to be so not wanting to meet people, but then it's like, oh, look at this. Nice little, I do want to meet. I told people basically it's like, I got to try something. And this is a great opportunity to just throw in a little bit of wit and see where that takes me.
I agree. Let us know how that goes, man. If you get a little more action or what.
Or just put up, you can come over and wipe your butt if you want.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the memes I put up yesterday was Beavis and Butthead, covered in 2 chicks was really making out with them. And I think the caption was something like, "This is what happens when girls find out you have TP for their bunghole."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. like, damn right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm probably one of the most stocked people out here. Yeah, in terms of supplies and stuff. Because I mean, I saw it coming.
And you're not even like a prepper of any sort.
No. I mean, I could do a month. I think 2 months would be a lot. And it is coming out here in the UK. They actually do want the infections to kind of build up to a certain point where the National Health Service is kind of at capacity. They really can't take any more. Then they will implement a quarantine for like 14 days for everybody.
Well, this is what I don't get either is you guys are literally like wanting the infections to go up.
Yes, which is insane. It's not a usual strategy. You would kind of want to nip it in the bud now. But I think what they've realized is because they've left it so late, there are people walking around who are infected that may not be showing symptoms yet. And they want all of those people to kind of come to the front. They want to be able to see how many they're dealing with.
Here's the other thing too, is people don't realize, people are kind of like talking about, oh, like it's not deadly. It's whatever, like, the typical dumb arguments. They don't realize the strain it's going to have on medical infrastructure around the world.
Correct.
Like if you look at, you look at how many they said how many ICU beds are available in the US.
Right.
How many hospitals, just beds in general, where, some, and then with all the sports that are not in season at this time, it's looking like basically they're going to have to start setting up like triage facilities in stadiums.
Right.
That's just what it's going to look like, and people don't really realize that. They're talking about, oh, it's just this, that, and the other. It's not gonna. There's no real concern. It's like, it's not so much if you're gonna like get sick and die.
Yes.
It's how many are going to get sick and how many are going to be required to be quarantined or just put in hospitals. And the hospital system we have, we don't have enough beds.
Sure.
Around the world. I mean, what is it? People are like, oh, China had to go, like, and even like people want to go say, oh, China just built a hospital. It's like, why can't we do? Yeah, China built a hospital in 2 weeks, and it's like shit. Like, have you seen the
There's
videos
nothing
from
in
it?
Yeah.
Well, they looked on the inside. It was basically bare utilities. The drywall was leaking.
Yeah.
And it's barely anything. Like, we can't just do that. Even if we tried, it'd be way too. I mean, it wouldn't work. So that's the big concern too, is the strain it's going to have on the infrastructure. People want to talk about toilet paper and such. It's like, no, the hospitals are going to be overflowing with people. I heard another talk. People are talking about face masks. So obviously, the panic buying with face masks is pretty real. Yeah. And people aren't really addressing that. And some people I know that work in types of, so I know someone who's works in the vet clinic, and they have to use face masks.
Right.
They have to ration them now.
Yeah.
Because they can't get any. And this person I know, she was, putting out a post talking about it and kind of said, maybe there should be some sort of action that should take place to basically restrict the public's access to face masks.
Well, I think that's coming already.
Well, some people are that's the thing, is they should have done that before, because people are buying more than they need.
Correct.
It's not about, the people who are like smart enough to like not freak out right away and decide, I'm just going to go buy a pack, can't even buy a pack.
I know.
And then the people who freaked out way too early bought like 20 packs and just, they're never going to use them all.
Yeah. I mean, I bought a mask. When did I buy that? I bought that last month, and it's a washable. So you just change the filters. So I also got like a whole pack of filters, about a month's supply. Like if I had to change the filter, and I don't every day, I'm good for a month. But the fact is, I saw this coming a month out. There are people who've been screaming wolf on this thing even longer than I have. And I mean, as you probably, Sticks and Hammer on YouTube. I can't remember the doctor's name, Philip or something. He's been talking about this for a long time. You and I discussed it. I think we were talking about a broadcast early on in the days and stuff like that. And what's the harm in preparing? But the people who run the medical facilities, fucking clueless. They had no foresight, no vision of what's going on. When really and truly, I'm not anything special. If a person like me could look at it and be like, yeah, this could be serious, I'm going to stock up on a couple things. There is no excuse why the medical facilities
to convince medical facilities to start stocking up on this.
Yeah,
because we talked this through, and this person I know was just talking about how like they do keep like a emergency supply of masks.
Yeah.
But the way it's going right now, like you just, like, what are you going to do? Like, there's, 1,000 cases in China, and you start calling up your hospital to say, hey, we need to like double our supply of masks. They're going to be like, you're fucking crazy.
No, well, it depends on the situation, of course. But
it's like
somebody should have been on top of it.
Right. No, I get that. It's just, I could kind of see like their point with like, I think at the very first sign of panic buying, there should be some kind of restrictions in place.
Yeah.
Because it was like right away. Like, I mean, early January, you see a guy come into a Walgreens and buy up all your masks. You're probably not going to think twice about it.
Right.
It's like fucking weirdo. But then, wait a few weeks and it's like, oh shit, we're out.
But yeah, the question you should be asking is, why are you buying so many masks? So it's the same thing. Like when we went to stock up, my flatmate and myself, we both walked out with 6 5-liter bottles of water, toilet paper. Both of us had like a stacked full grocery cart sort of thing, right? And it was very bizarre to see the two of us walking out with that much water and everything else. And the woman asked us at the counter, like, what's going on? Is it a house party? Or, you doing a barbecue? What's going on? I said, no, we're prepping for the end of the world. And she's like, oh, no. I said, yeah, it's the whole virus thing and stuff like that. We know in a couple of weeks, we're not going to be able to get in here. And she's like, oh, wow, yeah, I'll have to look into that. Maybe I should buy a few things. But it's common knowledge. The public was smarter than the procurement officers of most of these hospitals. And what I don't like, especially out here in the UK, they're telling us, don't buy the mask. Don't buy the mask. They can't help you anyway. And at the same time, the medical staff needs the mask. They need the mask, right? So it's not going to protect us. It's going to protect them because they're doctors.
Here's another good question for you to think about. In the case of someone, so there have been rare cases where people are refusing to self-isolate or to be quarantined in a hospital.
Yes.
Do you think there should be some sort of legal
I think there should be some penalty. I mean, unless it's, even if it's an emergency, there has to be some kind of facilities for that. Like, even for me, like I'm technically self-isolated, but here I am in the office, right? Now there is nobody in the office and I'm not expecting anybody in today, but I'm technically still isolated. I don't have anybody within like a 3 meter.
But I mean, like,
radius,
because as far as I know, there's no real laws in the books regarding disease in this case.
Not in the US or the UK. I know Trinidad is proposing that. My home country.
Yeah.
I don't know what's on the books currently.
Because I thought about it. I was like, okay, how would you argue it? Like, what are some examples you can use? And I thought about it like, well, I mean, so there's decisions you make that can willingly bring harm to others. Now, drunk driving has some very real and immediate effects of hurting people, damaging property, and possibly even killing someone.
Yes.
Willingly walking around with an infectious disease with a relatively, I mean, in terms of rate of death, like it's obviously not as deadly as a drunk driver, but
sure,
it is dangerous enough that it like brings, you're willingly endangering people.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's you bring them suffering or you somehow come across someone with a compromised immune system and it kills them.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so is there any law in the book to address that? Because you got these people.
I don't know in the UK.
You get some weirdos
in
in the US that are trying to do this. They're trying to be like, oh, fuck the doctors, fuck the hospital. I'm walking out.
Right. I think it very much depends on where and who they're with and what they do. Like if you come out, just to take a walk around and you're not around anybody, I'm not sure that's necessarily a bad thing.
But I mean, you go about your normal day.
Yeah, if you're sick and you're like, fuck this, I'm going to work, I'm going to the sporting event, and I think that's very, very irresponsible. Yeah, even so much so. I mean, it's a part of the reason why I canceled my trip.
Should you be forced to be quarantined?
If you're showing symptoms, yes, you should actually be forced into quarantine.
What would you be charged? So let's say
public endangerment.
Public endangerment is that? I was like, is that an actual crime though in the U.S.?
It's not necessarily a crime. I mean, they're not going to throw you in jail per se.
Get everyone else sick in there.
Well, they'll probably just escort you back to your house and be like, you have to stay in here. That's usually how it goes.
And then you kind of wonder what other resources that have to be in place if someone is stubborn enough. Like, oh, I'm going to go outside. It'd be like, what? You just post a police officer at their house?
No, there's no way. There's no way to police it. In fact, I've had a conversation with somebody who is in the police force, and they're being instructed now that at some point they're going to have to enforce quarantine and patrol the streets and do exactly what we're discussing now. I don't know if it's arrestable. I don't think it's going to be a crime. I think it's basically keep people off the streets kind of thing. And even the police officers are like, there is no fucking way in hell we can do that. There's just, you're talking about 65 million people in this country.
Yeah, even in your country, they're like, we can't do this.
Yeah, it's like we can't. There's no way.
And you guys fucking arrest people for making dumb tweets.
Exactly. And I mean, I was talking to some people here, and I was like, look, they are going to quarantine the entire country could be a month. Hopefully, it's only 2 weeks. Could be a month. Who knows how long it's going to be? And their response is like, no, that's never going to happen. I said, that's what's going on in Italy right now. Everything is closed right now. This is what a pandemic does. And if you can't see that is the logical next step that the government is going to want to do, close the schools, close all the sporting events, everybody stay home kind of thing, then you're not really dealing with reality. But it seems far-fetched. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope we beat the infection. The Israelis come out with a great vaccine, all that kind of stuff. Sure, I'm not hoping death and destruction and, the end of the world. But yeah, it's possible. And we might have to hunker down for two weeks to a month. So we'll see.
Fucking crazy.
At least I've got my coffee creamer. So this should last me a month. I got another one here. Yeah, see that? Yeah.
you're just like
there we go. This. Yeah.
You should have brought some rolls of toilet paper with you for the show and just be like flexing on you people.
No, I didn't want to do that because the window is over let's see, it's over there. And I don't want people seeing I got toilet paper in here, then they smash the glass and come take it. So
oh boy.
I've got some cases of water in the back of the room, and I've moved them from eye view from the door so nobody knows it's there.
Freaking bust the window, and all I hear in the background is, "Oh, you got a license for that?"
Exactly, man.
Got a license for all that extra toilet paper?
I mean, another person who's been very much on top. I don't know if you've been watching Tim Pool's videos, but he's been covering this pretty good.
Tim Pool, I've been hearing so much more about him nowadays. I think ever since he went on Rogan, and he's just come out as being like more and more, like he's demonstrated himself to basically be a very reasonable person.
Yes.
And he's sort of come into sort of a lot of the circles, and a lot of the people that I've talked to are like posting his stuff. Like I'm seeing him post stuff in Rich's men's community that I'm in, because every time he gets just a little whiff of red pill of women, like, women are doing all this crazy stuff and men are suffering, and he like posts something and they're all like, oh, he's so close. Is he in the group? Is he in
The men's group?
No. Tim Pool's.
People. Okay, they post.
People are
his
posting
stuff.
his videos, basically, in like showing like the little glimpses of sort of the red pill that he's.
He knows. Yeah, he knows. He's read. I think he's read Irrational Male actually, because he got the S. But no, he described the sexual marketplace perfectly, and that's kind of like
yeah. I've been realizing that, like, regardless of the manosphere, as weird as the word is, like, how many people will like go on about there's a lot of bad publicity about like MRAs and incels and MGTOWs and such, and it's like, okay, that's all very justified in a lot of ways, but it's funny how mainstream certain words like simp have become.
Yes,
I mean, PewDiePie did a whole video making fun of simps.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm not going to go and say like, oh, PewDiePie's red pilled or whatever. But in a way, like, you see the way a lot of these mainstream people kind of joke about things, people who are more basically less and less fringe type individuals that are talking about this, and how like, you're basically your typical, well, literally non-red pill guy, if you want to call it beta or whatever. Guys that'll just like post something funny that they like, oh, what a simp. Did you hear what iDubbbz about him?
No, I haven't followed iDubbbz in a long time.
So iDubbbz has a fairly attractive girlfriend. And she started like really posting a lot of stuff about herself. And lo and behold, she puts out an OnlyFans page.
For her.
While still dating him.
Whoa.
And people are like, starting to, some of this getting leaked, and some of this, and someone took like he did one of those like videos where he's like in front of a green screen and people can do whatever the fuck they want with it.
Yeah.
And there was one video of him basically like, to whatever's in the background, he's like, you're a fucking whore, or whatever. It was like iDubbbz saying this. So they took the clip, like the screenshots of him and his girlfriend, like the tweets they put out after she started announcing she had an OnlyFans,
right?
And all the tweets of her announcing she has an OnlyFans, and it's just him, like, it's a video of him at himself, like, you're a fucking whore. You're a fucking idiot. Like, and I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my god, this is great. It was so funny. Crazy. Like, she apparently got a boob job that he possibly paid for, and then she started doing OnlyFans, and then like days after she announced this, there's a picture of him and her in the car, and he's got a Nintendo Switch, and he's just kind of like, and people are like, no, it's the fucking meme, like the soy boy meme with the Nintendo Switch. Like, what the hell is going on here?
I didn't see that. I'll have to look that up. It sounds fucking brilliant.
But people are kind of just pointing out, like, he's such a simp. Like, he's dating this girl who's willingly putting. Now, from what I've seen
he's
so
worth
far,
some money, yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of one of those things. You get these guys that are, like, I see him and I see like Chris Reagan, and they seem to be like similar types of people. Like, you get these guys that are like, they've been socially awkward, they're very introverted, but then they kind of get to express themselves in a sense where they become popular. They get on videos, they're doing Let's Plays, whatever. They get real popular. And then they do like attract like a cute girl here and there to come along and get with them. But then like, fucking hypergamy kicks in, and they're just not really like, dealing with it.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's not just the socially awkward and the simps. As we keep going back, Mystery kind of fucked up his game as well when he got into his relationship with whatever Tatiana or whatever.
I think him's actually a way bigger thing, because like the dude is literally like the dating guy,
the pickup get laid guy. But it shows even what I found out about a football player called Cristiano Ronaldo, who plays for
oh shit, Ronaldo,
yeah. Arguably one of the best football/soccer players in the world. Him and Lionel Messi kind of swap that title every so often. millions of dollars. He pays his girlfriend $100,000 a month so that she can enjoy the high-flying lifestyle. And I'm kind of like, what the fuck? And I mean, he's not a bad-looking guy. I don't know if anybody's seen Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, I mean, he fixed his teeth, he fixed his hair. You know, he's pretty jacked. He's tall. You know, he's a good-looking guy. And you're telling me this motherfucker is paying his girlfriend $100,000 a month just because?
I mean,
that's pretty crazy.
If I was with someone and I was as rich as him,
yeah,
I'd just be like, being with me is more than enough. Like, yeah, we're gonna go out to eat in nice places all the time. If you know, I'll give you gifts and such, but I'm not gonna pay you. Like, that's the difference, I think, between paying someone and having them be gifted just by being around you with the lifestyle you live. Like, I told you about, like, just, I mean, it's that weird. It's a weird thing when you really like consider different situations. So, like, I told you, like, I've had these like matches on dating sites, and they're like, you know, they're sending me their Snapchat. I'm like, okay, fine, we'll talk on Snapchat. And then they're like, within a few minutes, it's already like, hey, do you want to buy my premium Snapchat for like $30?
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, okay. I mean, and some of them I'll try to like kind of work around. Like, they think they're like, oh, you know, I'm a cam. Like, I actually had a chick that was like, I'm a cam girl. Do you still want to hang out? I'm like, do you want? And I straight up just said, do you want me to be in your videos? She's like, no. And I'm like, then I don't fucking care.
Right.
And she's like, oh, okay, great. And I'm like, so, like, did you want to meet up? And she goes, well, you need to meet my manager and pay him $50.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this.
And then I'm like, fuck off. Like, and I'm thinking, and here's the thing. It's like, you know, when I really started to think about it, I'm like, okay, if I meet someone, and let's say we hook up or whatever, and then I have to pay, and then maybe I like take them out to eat. And let's say I spent like $30-$40 on this person, like, to go out and eat.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm totally fine with. How is that any different?
Correct.
Monetarily than if I just paid them? And I go, well, it obviously is. It's how you go about it. Like,
how you paid them.
How I paid them. Yeah. I mean, it's a difference between like, and it's like kind of like with what Rollo says with validational and transactional sex. Like, I want to meet people and possibly have sex with them through the means of what's called validational sex. Like,
sex, yeah.
You want to be around me, and I want to be around you, and we're going to enjoy each other's company, and, you know, take each other out to eat, do things, whatever.
Yes.
I don't want you to be with me only because I paid you money.
Right.
So it's like, if I were someone like Ronaldo or whatever, so just had a bunch of money, and someone comes along to be with me, and they're like, you know, I'm not paying them to be with me, but the benefits of being with me is you get to go to places, you get to eat different foods, you get to meet different people.
Yes.
You're not getting
if that's
paid
enough. If that's enough, you know, I would agree with that. In a lot of ways, I definitely say that's right, but that's not what's going on. You know, these guys are, you know, even, what was it? There was some girl that I was following on Instagram, and she was out for Trinidad Carnival. I don't know how I got it. She had some twerking video, and I kind of followed along. And then I realized, oh, this is one of these women that's, you know, all into the cam girl, and she got her OnlyFans.
What do you mean, Brook? What do you mean these women?
It started to add up, you know.
You're not respecting the women here?
No, I respect the hustle, bro. Don't get me wrong. But I realized, you know, if I'm watching the Instagram picture was pretty fucking hot, I have to admit. So that's why I followed her. And then I realized, oh God, it's all an act. This is all she does. And what you know, she's staying at one of the best hotels in Trinidad, flying first class, and all this other. So I looked at the entire lifestyle and be like, fucking men are paying for this because of your coochie. Like, because you got pum pum, you're living a better lifestyle than even I'm living. I don't fly first class all the time. And when I go to Trinidad, I do not stay at that particular hotel and stuff. And it actually pissed me off. Like, no, well, fuck this, you know, and I switched it off. And I've been dealing with that anger a little bit more recently, because I'm seeing, especially in this kind of world economy, more and more women are doing this, and it's really irking me, man.
We want to be careful we don't get too much into the
red pill rage.
Well, it's not even red pill rage at that point. It's just kind of like, I see a lot of this. And I actually had a couple chicks that were like, we talked about, like, you get to a point in your life where you kind of feel like, anything will do. You just like, you want to meet someone, get it done with. If they're cool, maybe hang out with them for a while, and you get some sex out of it, whatever. And it's not, I don't think that's like some misogynistic or cheap way of thinking. Anyways, and so you see some of these chicks, and you're just like, okay, she's not the hottest thing in the world. She looks okay, and she looks nice or whatever.
Yeah,
she's a little chubby or whatever, and you're just like, okay, just kind of go with it. And then it's like, if I had to say, if I had to rate someone on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like, okay, these are like 4s and 5s. Right. I'm sitting there like, okay, here we go. And then it's like, you want to buy my premium Snapchat? I'm like, the fuck are you talking about, premium Snapchat? Like, how are you? And I'm just sitting here like, how are you getting guys paying for you?
Yeah.
Like, I'll take you out to eat at Denny's. Like, I'm not paying like 30, 40, $50 to meet you and fuck you or whatever. Like, no.
Yeah, it's and I think that's what's disturbing more than anything is the one I saw. The girl was hot, right? I mean, she was black, and I do like them dark.
Racist.
No, it's the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice, man. I've been saying that for a long time, right?
Oh my god.
So, but I mean, at least she was very attractive. She had a great body. She's like, yeah, this was pretty on point. But then you meet, some of the land whales, right? Darwinian nightmare types, and they are fucking hustling, bro. They are making bank, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to men? Like, that's that. Oh, it's depressing. I'm off all the dating sites. I can't take it anymore. It's just too much shit, and I try not to watch it anymore because it's just too depressing.
I showed you the screenshot from that messenger chat that was like a joke, like
oh yeah
the guy that like sends a picture to a chick, like, $10 for a jerk off video, $20 for nudes or whatever, and it's just like, it's basically a menu, and it's like kind of what these like premium Snapchat chicks do, and the girl's like, oh, what the fuck, what are you sending me this for? And he goes, hey, gotta feed my kids somehow. And I'm seeing this chat, and I'm like, I've seen that same chat, of course, flipped.
The reverse, where women are saying that to you. Exactly.
And guys were like, oh, okay, fine. Like, I saw this joke, which is so weird. It had to be just peak symptom. Was a guy that said, oh, my for the first time ever, my premium Snapchat fees are more expensive than my rent. And I'm like, the fuck? Jesus Christ. And yeah,
crazy.
Like there was a chick that I found and added on Snapchat. She never replied to anything, but she was, they do this a lot. They're like, if you're following me and you're not buying my shit, I'm gonna like block you on Snapchat. Okay, fine. Good luck finding me. I'm just gonna still watch your stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever you post. And this person kept posting this thing for a while, like, go on these 3 dating apps, create fake profiles for me.
Right.
With the way that. So what they've been doing is, and I found this is a really weird strategy, is chicks will go on these dating profiles, create multiple profiles of the same themselves,
right,
all pointing to their Snapchats,
right, yeah.
So that if anyone reports one of them and has it deleted, there's another one there.
There's another one in a different town, in a different location,
in a different town, different location, same pictures.
Pretty smart, actually, when you think about it.
And any guy who helps them do this, they give them like a little, like, like a free month or free whatever.
Right.
Drawing for a chance to meet up and fuck him or whatever. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like, this is some like really smart marketing here.
It's pretty intense and it's pretty crazy. It's pissing me off. More and more, it's pissing me off because they're so fucking. Maybe they're not clueless, but there are some that are just clueless. and they're taking it to the extreme.
I'm seeing almost like there's almost, so women want, like, women that I've talked to about the idea of plate spinning. I think it's some sort of horrible thing.
I don't know why you would discuss the concept of plate spinning with women, but okay.
No. I talked to women I have no interest in.
My query still stands, but okay.
Anyways, I brought it up to some. Okay, we'll be more clear. It was in a group setting where there were men and women. They were asking about red pill, and I talked about plate spinning, and the women were immediately like, "I would never date a guy like that." And I'm sitting there like, "Yeah, yes, you would." I didn't say that, but I was just gauging the reaction. Like, the guys were very quiet on the subject. They're kind of like, okay. And there was a guy there that's like very much like, quote unquote, respect women. That was like, oh yeah, I've done that. Dating multiple women, not exclusively. And I'm like, okay, cool. Anyways, brought this up and they're like, I wouldn't do that. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, you would. But then I'm also like navigating the online dating of, all these women with their army of men that are purchasing their Snapchats, whatever. It's almost like there's a hierarchy. There's like a structure within it. So you get this one chick that's obviously selling herself through premium Snapchats and stuff. Some of them I've actually found, they'll actually post like little preview videos in their Snapchat. Like, this is what you get. Yeah. Obviously, they're putting a bunch of stuff to block out and censor it.
Yeah. They do that on Instagram too.
Yeah. And so they're doing this. And then they'll show a couple of them where they're actually like fucking a dude. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, why do I want to see that? But I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's almost like, so you get the chick and you've got the guy that she has that week, that month, whatever, that like gets to sleep with her. Whether it's she did a little drawing or whatever to get her, like, to allow him, or he's legitimately like some alpha that she will just let like do all sorts of shit to her or whatever.
Right.
And then it's like, it's almost like she has this hierarchy. She's got like the alpha man that gets to fuck her.
Yeah.
And then like different levels of men sort of below her that are all like buying her shit.
Yeah.
That's like doing her bidding, creating her fake accounts, putting her stuff out there, fucking, giving her all the attention that she wants by, giving her replies and all the stuff she's posting.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, Jesus fucking Christ. And me just dating a couple of chicks at the same time
is a problem.
Is a problem. That's what I was kind of getting at. Was like, you're sitting here like, oh no, I wouldn't date a guy if he did this. Yeah, right, yeah. But you guys are like way more layered. Like, you guys have got a whole fucking like multi-level marketing pyramid scheme going on here over one chick. And men are like just sitting here like, well, I just want to do a small business of a couple girls, and it's like, oh, we're the bad guys.
Yeah, it's messed up. I'm getting more and more tired of it as I look at it. I was telling a friend of mine, it's like, dude, I'm like this close to going fucking MGTOW. I probably won't, but I'm so getting the frustration of it.
I mean, you understand though, like when you have those thoughts, you kind of realize, you kind of have like a moment where you kind of look outside yourself, like, it sounds good, but I know MGTOW is just this sort of, like, the way I see it, and it's not a criticism of like anyone in particular, but it's like I see MGTOW as sort of quitting.
In a lot of ways, it is. And I mean, that has been my response to that in the sense that, no, just be better and all this other good stuff. Yes, that's true. But I get it. I fully understand that, yeah, for some people, it's even if you do all of that, even though you're the best version of yourself, even though you've got your six-pack and you're making all this kind of stuff, you still have to pull from a fucking pool of women that are shit. And that is...
Hashtag not all, but,
right. But that is my issue. At the end of the day, I look at it like, there really is not, it doesn't really look like that would ever really pay off with a quality.
That's the thing is, the people who get to hear about them, like the people who have, who get to hear about men, basically like who have actually done a lot to like say, I've been through a lot of women, I've met a lot of them, and it's just not working. And they're like, well, there's a quality woman. I know this one.
She's the idea, it's quality Snapchat,
The idea of a quality woman And it's a bit grim. Like I told you, like, you know, there's this chick that I find, and she's, you know, I'm a cam girl. You okay with that? I'm like, I don't care. That attitude is like, it's an adaptation that I have to take to basically realize, like, there are women out there, a lot of them, that are just not virgins, not, you know, they've got all these whatever issues, and you just have to, like, you know, find the one that's either willing to forsake a lot of the shitty stuff she does or forsake all the other stuff. Like, you could probably, and this is not like advice per se, but it's like, you could probably find a girl that, given the right kind of guy, will totally be with you, even though she might have been like a cam girl or has had a million guys through her or something.
You could.
Yes,
you could. I'm not. Yeah, of course that. Of course that's possible.
But you almost have to expect most girls you're going to come across have certain criteria that are true for them. Like,
I agree. That's the problem.
Had multiple partners, probably experimented with some sort of like selling of herself, whether it's, you know, whored out one time or has a premium Snapchat or something. Sure. There's many.
You don't even have to go that far. I mean, there could be simple things like, you know, I'm not particularly enamored with smoking, and a lot of these girls smoke. Or it could be the single mom issue that, you know, we've discussed ad nauseum. You know, I mean, yeah, of course, their women are going to have disqualifying markers of all times.
There's a lot of women that have a lot of disqualifying markers that basically, for the longest time, the idea that is basically sold to men is these disqualifying markers are less than they are.
Right.
Like, they're like, oh, you know, there's a, you know, like, and we've talked about this is because it's not that, like, it's not, feminism doesn't just hurt men, it also hurts other women.
Yeah, of course.
So the pressure to conform, the pressure to follow the trend for who were quality, you know, actually, I know Rolo doesn't like the term quality women, but women who would be considered of better quality, had to ruin themselves to fit in.
I get
whether
it.
It's they're at a party and I had to sleep with the Chad, or the, you know, all the Chads, or have a train, or, you know, or they're, you know, it's easier to just do a premium Snapchat and not have a job.
Sure.
Well, not have a real job, and just all these things. It's like, if you're moderately attractive, you've got access to the internet and a smartphone.
Yes,
you do a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that in that respect. So it's just, there's so many non-great women that I've encountered in the last few months. It's kind of like I'm getting tired of it. Online and in person, it's kind of like, these people are shit. Like, yeah. As Brian is saying, it's, you know, sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. And I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely like centering in on myself more and more.
Yeah. So I'm looking at what Brian is saying in the chat. He says MGTOW is not quitting. Well, MGTOW is not quitting at life. I'll agree with you there. I think MGTOW is quitting at women.
No, I mean, it's understanding that the game is rigged against us and choosing not to play.
Right? Yeah, that's why I'm saying is I think it's quitting women.
Right. I don't necessarily think that's because there are reasons to leave the game, right? I mean, it'd be like you put your hand on the fire and it burns. You pull your hand away. That's not necessarily quitting the fire. It's you don't want to get, you know,
well, it's not. But I mean, it's like saying, you know, oh, I suck at Monopoly, so I'm just going to walk away from the game. You quit Monopoly.
No. The game is rigged against you, so it is impossible for you to win the game Monopoly. So there's no point in playing. That is the MGTOW argument. Not that I'm playing and I'm losing, hence I will quit. It's there's no win. You will always lose. Hence, it makes no sense to play the game. That's the MGTOW philosophy.
But it's not worth the squeeze. Playing the game and quitting the game are different in their view?
Yeah, choosing not to play the game because it's rigged against you is not the same thing as quitting. Right? Quitting involves you play the game with the intentions of winning. right? That there has to be a path to win. That's why you play the game, right? If three of us were playing Monopoly and I told you, well, Amos, no matter what, you're gonna lose, would you still play the game?
What about MGTOW guys who have played to win and still lose and then quit?
I mean, again, there's a lot of nuance to it, and again, I mean, there's no way I'm going to be able to cover all of that.
Yeah, no, I know. There's a lot of nuance to it, and I can appreciate that to a degree.
Yeah.
I just think,
yeah. So it's not quitting, and this is where Rolo and Rich and stuff like that get it wrong. It's not quitting. It's making a calculated decision not to play the game. Ironically, it's the same argument that Rich has against marriage.
I mean, so yeah. Like Rich has MGTOW men in his men's group, like men who identify as that, and he's totally fine with it. He understands it.
Sure.
I personally just see it as like the way Rich tends to, get his message out there, the way he talks to men is kind of like, just because things are tougher doesn't mean you just step away. Like, you do better at it. Now, if there's a long period of time that you're just not getting laid, not getting women, you have monk mode. You have a time period where you focus entirely on yourself. You're not pursuing women.
Yes.
Is that MGTOW? To a degree, you could say so, but it's just more so. Of course, but without completely like adopting it to like, oh, I'm just not. It's a sense of like taking time away to then go back into it later on.
Right. I've seen that video.
Whereas MGTOW seems to be like the long term, like your whole life, you're just not going to play.
No, that's not it either, because there are MGTOW that date as well. They still enjoy the company of women. They're just not going to marry them, which is exactly what Rich is.
Right.
He is a MGTOW that dates women and who's not going to marry them. He has all of the philosophy. Everything is correct. He would never call himself that. But that, again, because it's a spectrum. And this is why I have issue with it, is because every time he picks at these things, he's like, don't you realize you're in that category? And
I think it's more so the it's what the label conjures up.
Yeah.
Which I understand too. Like and I've told you this, I have friends that I've had to like have the conversation with, like, I'll make a comment about women or whatever, and they'll just throw in the incel comment. And I'm just like, and they would go like, they point it out, and I'd ask them like, do they know what it means? And they're like, no, I just like throwing it out there. And I've told you too, it's one of those weird things. For a time, it bothered me a lot more.
Sure.
And it's like, well, why would it bother you if it doesn't apply to you? Well, it's not that so much as whether it applies to me or not. It's just, I think a lot of people have just bad feelings or bad ideas about certain labels that when they're thrown at them, they kind of feel insecure because it's like they probably could identify with a lot of them.
Sure.
So it's more of a defense against their insecurities rather than a defense against the label itself. So it's like when people have called me an incel, I'm like, oh shit, like, I haven't had sex for a while, and I'm kind of having all these problems or whatever, and it's like, I'm trying to work on things, and it's like, and I've told people, it's like, I'd rather be called a MGTOW. I'd rather be called a misogynist, a sexist, or a MGTOW. Like, if you're calling me an incel, I conjure up these images of like, basically, in the basement with a sex doll, just kind of, women bad.
Yeah, I mean, it is a spectrum, though. There are men who date in MGTOW who just won't marry, so the pump and dumpers. But yeah,
and it's funny we talk about the spectrum when we talked about what is it, the male brain? The
male brain. Yeah, there's a lot to it, and I do understand the connotations. I do understand what people are saying, and I do translate, what they mean. But it's ironic. There's so much overlap. It becomes almost a comedy to be like, wow, why are you against these people when you're practically one of them? So yeah, it's interesting. We are past the time, though. I don't know if you want to go on or what.
Oh no, we're good. Let's wrap it up here. So
all right, no problem, man. We didn't get to Picard though, so we'll have to
fuck Picard.
We'll have to do like a week in the week special, and you and I can discuss.
Oh my god.
Maybe we'll get somebody. Maybe we get Terrence. Terrence is a big Trek guy. Maybe we get another Trek person, and we could do like a Trek special.
Talked to him in a while, have you?
I sent him a message the other day when I was trying to figure out what's going on in Trinidad, and it's not good what's going on out there. So part of the reason I canceled the trip.
Fucking Trek. I just watched a whole video about that.
Oh, really? Yeah, we'll talk about it. Fair enough.
But yeah, anyways, thanks everyone for joining us, of course. Check out our other episodes, subscribe to the channel, comment below, follow both of us on social media. And of course, after the show, I add all the stuff below for like our subscribe stars so you can support the show. You can also join us, following us on different social media to check out anything we do there. I know. And also, of course, the Facebook page. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining us. We will, of course, see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching, everyone.